Julie's the president, so she always sits
Makes
next to
sense,
us.
makes
Somebody I didn't know.
But we can sit anywhere down low.
Got it.
We're not that up there yet.
Alright. I'm here to help serve.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the meeting of the Beech Grove Board of Zoning Appeals for September 2nd, 2025. Before we get started, we're going to introduce ourselves and a little roll call, starting on my right.
Jeff Yeager.
Aubrey Anderson.
Samantha Stratton, Clerk Treasurer.
Manny Herzog, attorney for the BZA.
Mike Garrett.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'm going to read the rules of procedure for our meeting. The proceedings of this hearing are governed by the board's rules of procedures. Petitioners and persons appearing in support of the case being heard shall have a maximum of 15 minutes for the presentation of evidence, statements, and arguments in support of the petition. Any person that desires to speak and provide testimony during today's hearing must first complete the sign-in slips located on the back table in the back of the room. The slip must be presented to the council before you provide your testimony. Remonstrators and persons appearing in opposition to the petition shall have a maximum of 15 minutes for the presentation of evidence, statements, and arguments in opposition to the petition. Staff will then present the administrator's comments regarding the petition. The petition will then be allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal and a summation of the case. Rebuttal must be limited to the subject matter of the initial presentations. Remonstrators will be allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal for the petitioner's rebuttal of evidence and a brief closing statement. No further evidence, statements, or arguments will be heard unless it is at the discretion of the board. Please limit your testimony and evidence to the matters covered in the statutory requirements which must be met for the board to grant a variance. If the petitioners have failed to comply with all notice requirements as stipulated by the board's rules of procedure, including posting of the notice placard on the subject property at least 23 days prior to the hearing, the board may continue the petition. Anyone at this hearing who thinks complete and proper notices have not been given and would like the petition to continue due to lack of proper notice must bring this matter to the board's attention at the beginning of the hearing. The board may impose various conditions as amendments before reaching a decision on certain petitions. The installation of landscaping and screenings, the paving of parked areas, and the dedication of right-of-way are examples of such conditions. These conditions are an integral part of the board's decision and must be met for a granted variance to be valid. Every decision of the Beech Grove Board of Zoning Appeals shall be subject to judicial review. Such petition for judicial review shall be presented to the court within 30 days after the decision of this board. Please be courteous and orderly at all times, and please be sure all cell phone ringers are turned off. Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions about our procedures? Okay, none seen. If anyone plans to speak today, can you please stand and raise your right hand? The other petitioners, you might speak, so it might be good to swear you in as well.
Okay.
Behind you. Yeah, you need to swear in as well, too, just in case. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated. All right, at this time, I believe we're going to just start with referencing a petition from last meeting, 2025, DVB 001B. There was a decision to table the decision on the second petition, and that petitioner has withdrawn that petition, so that will no longer need to be heard. Okay. And then up first, we have petition 2025. DVB 002, which is 234 South 9th Avenue. And I will call the petitioner forward to speak on your petition today. Joe, if you could state your name at the podium, and you have 15 minutes.
Good morning or afternoon. My name's Joe Tellez. I live at 234 South 9th Ave here in Beech Grove. And I guess what this variance is about is when I purchased the property last year, there was a gravel already there. And so anyways, code enforcement came and told me I had to remove a portion of the gravel. And so I'm petitioning for a variance to keep the gravel the way it is from when I originally purchased the property a year ago. And I don't know what else to say.
They may have questions for you. Does the board have questions about this petition based on the staff report you received at this time?
So from what I understand, all you want to do is all they want you to do is to remove gravel That's it? You're not planning to put like a slab over it or anything like that?
No, sir.
No concrete slab, that's it?
Right, I just wanna leave the gravel the way it is.
Okay, just curious, that's all. The way I was looking at it, the way the picture and everything stated, that you were planning to concrete over that
Oh,
in order to make it a better area, that's all.
No, I
Good.
just wanna leave the
Curiosity.
gravel the way it is.
Thank you.
I think the problem is it's too wide, correct?
That's what they were mentioning,
And the zoning only allows 30 feet, and you are at 40,
48 feet.
48
approximately.
feet.
Yes, sir.
That's funny.
All right. If there's no other questions, at this time, we'll call staff, and then we will hear from you momentarily again in a minute. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Actually, first I have to ask, is there anyone here that would like to remonstrate the petition? None seen. Okay, now we'll call staff.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you able to hear me all right? Mics are on here?
Yeah, the one on your left is on.
This is my hot mic?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks to the board for your time. I see at least one or two new faces up here, so for those who don't know me, my name is Michael Weigel. I'm with the Department of Metropolitan Development for the City of Marion County through an interlocal agreement with Beech Grove. A representative from our offices comes and provides professional planning advice on land use petitions such as the ones before us today. So that's why I'm here, just to give a little commentary on how sad things go, an appropriate route to proceed might be. I'd like to thank Mr. Telez for the information he provided as well, and for his flexibility in rescheduling from last month's date when we didn't have the appropriate forum to proceed. So staff is recommending the denial of this petition request. The site is at the corner of 9th and Byland, as can be seen within the photos from the staff report. It's developed with a single-family home and an accessory detached garage as well within that western side yard there. This is a property that has 2 front yards. Site development is also zoned D5 and with medium-density residential surrounding. An attached garage at this site has been present since about the 70s per the property card. The second photo of the exhibit shows how it looked prior to the installation of the gravel drive. That photo is from Google Street View in 2011. Per aerial photos, the installation of that gravel drive was around 2020. It was before this property was purchased by the current owner, which appears that was early this year or last year. Permits for that driveway weren't obtained at the time from Beech Grove or from Marion County for an installation. There wasn't a site plan included with the application, but per photos taken by the inspector that was out there, they measured the width of 48 feet. That is correct. In May, there was an anonymous complaint made to the Mayor's Action Center, which is through Marion County. That was presumably made by a neighbor. Now, an inspector from Marion County's Department of Business and Neighborhood Services visited the site. Their complaint was about parking of commercial vehicles within a residential area. The violation that was opened cited this, as well as the width of the parking area that was installed illegally by the previous owner of the site. The full text of that violation is within the exhibits of your staff report, if you are curious. There's been some ongoing conversation between Indy and Beech Grove about jurisdiction and responsibility for inspections. The way it works is that Indianapolis does approval of zoning permits, whereas Beech Grove does their own enforcement for building permits that are issued. So it's possible that maybe that Indianapolis inspector should have been there and it should have been a Beech Grove inspector instead. But in either case, it's non-conforming regardless of who cited it, and that wouldn't have an impact either way on staff's recommendation. But just to provide a bit of background to cover pretty well. So there's 3 ordinance rules that would be applicable for this driveway beyond the potential need for having some sort of permit for the curb cut and access. It would be the width, which has been mentioned, 48 feet when 30 is the maximum for residential front yards. This isn't a side yard. If it were a side yard, that 30-foot figure wouldn't necessarily be relevant. There's also the gravel surface utilized. Single-family residential uses do allow for gravel driveways if it's compact and if there's distinct edge boundaries created, which doesn't appear to be the case here. If there was parking of a recreational vehicle or some sort of commercial vehicle, my interpretation of the rules there is that hard surfacing might also be required. That's why it's referenced within the blurb. But if it was just, or within the request language, excuse me, but if the site were just being used for single-family uses, then it would be allowed to be staying gravel as long as it was like distinctly edged off and marked. There's also a newer ordinance rule about the amount of green space along front yards. The requirement is 65% landscaped and planted area for residential front yards within D5 zoning. Per measurement I was able to take from the aerial, it looks like they're at about 64%, so it's pretty close. That rule was created in 2021, which didn't exist when the driveway was installed. But since it was never legalized, there is still a requirement to meet the current standards. The other two are enforceable at the time. So there's the width, there's the minor reduction in amount of like green area in the front yard, and then there's the gravel paving if there's going to be placement of RVs or commercial vehicles at the site as well. As mentioned, the neighbor complaint and violation did mention the parking of RVs and commercial trailers at the site. That wasn't part of the request made by the applicant for today's hearing, so it's a bit beyond the scope. We wouldn't note that regardless of how this variance hearing goes, I wouldn't necessarily grant permission for parking of those sorts of vehicles outside of rules per the ordinance. So commercial vehicles, that's based on weight and function of those would be fully disallowed. Recreational vehicles, there's a max of 2 allowed. I mentioned the gravel parking as well. They couldn't be fully occupied if they were going to be parked on the site for 15 or more days as well. So the 9th photo within the reports is what the inspector took a photo of back in May. The first photograph is a little more recent. That's from July. So as you can see, some of those vehicles aren't there in July. Property zone D5, which is one of the city's walkable neighborhood districts. Rules that are relevant today are in place to ensure vibrant and pedestrian-friendly residential communities, limits on commercial appearance or negative externalities from dust, drainage concerns, chuck holes, things of that nature. Additional goals are shading and green space, minimize impacts of car access on neighborhood streetscapes. Staff doesn't feel that the driveway, as it's currently constituted, meets those goals. It seems to take up the dominant portion of the visible streetscape. Appears to be slightly wider than those used by neighboring properties as well. It's entirely clear why the drive couldn't be reduced to a width of 30 feet. Maybe have that portion resodded and then have a distinct boundary created to meet most, if not all, of the ordinance requirements that are relevant here. I note that the detached garage appears to have a width of about 27 feet. That's what I was able to measure from aerial photography, which is comparable to the 30-foot requirement. We did receive one email from a Carol Korn who was asking for information about the case. They didn't indicate support or opposition to it, but just for the record, we were contacted by someone who was curious about it. There was also the initial complaint to the Mayor's Action Center that led to the violation. Overall, it's unfortunate that this property was purchased without knowledge of the non-conforming driveway, but as you might be aware, the burden of proof that we often look for in these cases is site-specific practical difficulty, like something unique to the property. Don't make it difficult to be developed otherwise. That's a statutory requirement from the state. We don't feel that burden has been met here, and that the approval of this variance might also increase the risk of additional non-compliant parking of commercial vehicles. For those reasons, we're recommending denial. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. The applicants might be able to answer additional questions or provide more context here as well. One thing that I would note is since there are only 3 voting members present today, we do require that all 3 vote unanimously in order for an action to be taken. If it were indecisive to 1 vote, this petition would be automatically continued and then reheard in full at next month's hearing. So, are there any questions that I can answer?
All right, Nancy, thank you. Joe, if you would like to reapproach the podium, you have 5 minutes if you would like to respond to anything that staff said.
Now, as far as commercial vehicles go, I don't have any commercial vehicles there or trailers. There was a dump trailer there when I was doing the landscaping, bringing in dirt and mulch and stuff like that, but it's no longer there. The only thing that's there now is my RV, my 5th wheel, and then I have a little utility trailer there that I use. And then my truck, it's just the F-350 dually that I use to pull my 5th wheel with. Like he mentioned before, this gravel was dropped in 2020. Prior to their changes in 2021, I had no knowledge of it. And from what I understand, that Beach Grove doesn't require permits to drop gravel or anything. So I'm just asking, can we leave it the way it is? It's purchased, and if you see the house, I'm doing a lot of work on it to make it, I want to be a good citizen of Beach Grove. I love this little town. fall, I come and get permits. And basically, I'm asking you, can we leave it? But I'm gonna throw myself on the mercy of y'all, because I don't want headaches. Like I told Mark, the inspector, I said, I want 3 things in life. I want peace, I want to see my daughter smile, and I want to finish this house. That's all I want. I don't want to cause no harm, no headaches or anything. So, that's all I'm about. I just want peace. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any other questions for the petitioner at this time?
No, he's already answered them
Okay, perfect.
during his speech.
Okay, perfect. All righty, well, this time the board can discuss and then go from there.
Why's everybody looking at me?
Because
You
you're
don't
in line.
Oh, one of the problems, it's 2 front yards on that property. One faces Bio and one faces Ninth. And I'm afraid if we approve it, that we may be setting a precedent for other people to try the same thing, which a lot of neighbors would be unhappy with. It's a shame that he bought it that way. I wonder if he can go back on the title company, because it was in violation. If maybe he could get some money to do the repairs. But I'd make a motion to deny.
Is there a second?
At this particular moment, I really don't see an issue with I can understand he's not in compliance, but just like you say, it was put down before he purchased the house, it was put down before the standards were changed to what they are now here today. And, I mean, I have a problem I have a neighbor on a street where I live that just out of the clear blue decided to do something similar, only on a smaller scale. They just took their front yard and poured gravel all over it. Not the whole thing, but they made them a parking area. They didn't make it very well. They don't know how to make parking areas. And I'm not looking forward to what's gonna happen in December and January when they start driving on it and it starts squishing mud out all over my street. But that's coming. So when it does, then I'll complain about it then. But this gentleman here, his property seems to be well done, well maintained. It looks like it was well taken care of when it was put down. And it's been there since 2020 and hasn't seemed to have caused any issues to that point. So, but that's where I stand on it, that being said. So,
Well, if a neighbor has already complained, there's gotta be a problem there. I mean,
well, I'm trying to figure out what the neighbor's complaining about other than
Also, it's
maybe-
anonymous. We don't know it's a neighbor.
Yeah, we don't know what the problem
Yeah.
was. We sat through one here once before where somebody complained about a fence, and we went ahead and let the fence go. Nobody came forward to complain about why the fence bothered them. So if you didn't show up for that, then I feel sorry for you. If you're not that big of a person to come and say why I want it, why I don't want it, then I'm sorry, you don't need to get your way.
Because I think there was no complaint on the driveway. There were 0 complaints on the sides of the driveway. The complaint was commercial vehicles.
Ah.
The Indianapolis inspector found it and said, well, this isn't right. So they came out and inspected, and what the complaint was, it was unfounded.
Ah,
The inspector found a new thing that the inspector said, well, this isn't right. So that's what happened. No complaints were on the sides of the driveway. It was the complaint were the commercial vehicles, and I think Michael can agree to that. It wasn't the inspector decided to make an issue with the driveway.
I have the full text of the complaint submitted if we'd like
Okay.
to add to the record.
So that was the difference there, sorry, so it took 5.5 years for anybody to decide it was an issue, and it was Indianapolis who decided it was an issue, not a resident, not a complainant,
Okay.
not a neighbor.
So it's not the size of the driveway, it's the vehicle that was located.
That was the original complaint.
Yeah.
And they realized that was unfounded, so they found something else to cite them for.
Michael, I think it would be helpful if you read the complaint into the record.
I'll read the complaint as well as the full text of the
Yeah,
violation,
thanks.
just so everyone's on the same page. So I think the way it works when you submit these complaints is there's sort of a drop-down menu and it's sort of the fill in the blank. So it's sort of framed like a question answer. I'll go ahead and read that first and then I can read off what was actually cited. So the question was, what was the nature of the request? The answer provided by an anonymous storage of a vehicle or materials in a residential district. They were asked if the concern was related to storage of materials for commercial vehicles. They responded to commercial vehicles. The question was what type of vehicles, and then the answer provided was other. My assumption is that was from a drop down, and there were other options that were not selected. They were asked to provide details, in which they answered 3 trailers. They were asked what the location was, and then the answer provided was the front of the property. When the inspector visited the site in May of 2025, that's the 9th photo within staff's report, as well as the 10th photo measuring the specific width. You can see the trailers that are placed there. The citation that was written up was for 2 items. They didn't mention commercial vehicles per se. It mentioned parking of more than 2 recreational vehicles parked outside within a D5 zoning district. My guess is they looked at those trailers there and didn't consider them to be of the size or function to be commercial vehicles, but called those RVs in addition to like the larger camper RV trailer there. So they mentioned 2 recreational vehicles parked outside, as well as the parking area in the front yard exceeding that 30-foot requirement. That was something that was not part of the complaint, but was noticed by the inspector at their time on the site in May.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
And so the issue of the commercial vehicle isn't really before you?
Right.
And as he's testified, he doesn't have any?
Yeah.
So that's the backdrop. So thanks to the mayor for bringing that up and for Michael clarifying.
Yes.
So basically, all we're trying to decide here is because it was made larger than it was supposed to have been.
Yeah, so the ultimate issue before you that wasn't complained of by the anonymous source, but ended
Okay.
up being an issue because the inspector was out there and noticed it,
Got it.
was the
So the average person,
the
average
size
citizen,
of
yeah,
the driveway.
the average person or average citizen walking by is never gonna notice it. They're not
Well, I
even
don't know.
better.
So far, let's put
Other
it this
than
way.
Mark.
So far, nobody's complained about it.
Thank you. That's the point I'm trying to get. I mean, it hasn't been an issue up to this point. Why is it an issue now? It's not bothering me, and I drive down that street, you know. I mean, as long as he's not tracking gravel out onto to 9th and Byland, you know, I don't see an issue with his driveway.
Yeah, our
Yeah,
good friends
it's
in
not bothering me.
Indianapolis thought it was
I have
an
no
issue.
comment to that. I'm not going there. Sorry. I live in Beech Grove. It might be a suburb of Indianapolis. As well. Pardon me?
That's right.
There we go. So,
State for the record, Mr. Mayor says that they're a suburb of Beech Grove.
thank you. Anyway,
Any further discussion? There is a motion to deny on the table we have to address. So you can further discuss it, but that motion has to be addressed. So we have to vote on that motion.
Yeah, is
Unless
there,
you want
like,
to
is there-
discuss it.
yeah,
okay, so,
Can I withdraw my,
You can,
are
if
allowed to
you
do
want,
that,
you can
yes.
Yes,
withdraw it,
please.
sure. All right, so
motion withdrawn.
motion withdrawn.
okay, then I would like to make a motion that we approve the variance, that it's okay for him to keep his driveway. Is
Sure.
that spoken correctly? My
Yes.
apologies.
Is there a
It's
second?
been a while since I sat here. I've got to learn the nomenclature again.
Do we have a second?
Let me. Yes.
Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
All righty, all those opposed, none seen. Variance is approved, 3-0. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Done and done.
All righty, we got one more today. Let me pull up the petition number. Okay, we have a petition now, 2025 DVB 004, 1202 Churchman Avenue. At this time, we'll call the petitioners forward. Tim and Nancy, you have 15 minutes to talk about why you are here today. And if you, once you get to the podium, if you can just state your full name for the record, please.
Just before you do, this previous one we voted on was 002, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, this
thanks.
is 004.
I've misheard it before. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Tim Weaver. This is Nancy McClaskey. We own the property at 1202 Churchman. And currently, there's a basketball court from a pre-existing, or I mean, a previous variance. And when we bought the house, we put up a fence for our dog, regular chain link fence. And we would like to improve that with a privacy fence.
Because we live on a corner, both sides.
There we go again.
the front. However, if we didn't get the variance, we would have to go straight
there's two similar fences in the neighborhood right now, at Alton and 12th and at Churchill and 12th.
Do you have any photos or layout of it?
We did.
It should be in your packet, John.
I don't have a packet.
Oh, no.
Well,
Oh, no.
too bad, so sad, my friend.
Is it legal? I got it.
Give me,
Yeah, can we?
We can
let's
have a
just
brief-
stop
we're
the
gonna
clock.
just- we're
We-
gonna
we're taking
stop.
recess.
Pause this for a
Yeah.
second.
Could that be it laying over there?
Because I think the picture would be helpful.
Is that it over there, Samantha?
No, this is city council stuff.
Take it along there. I want him on it. Okay, take a look at that. Yep, sorry.
We,
You guys are treating me like a stepchild.
I'm so
Thank
I
you.
don't want you to be in the not know.
Yeah, let's actually just take a brief 5-minute pause, if that's all right with everyone. And then Joe, you're welcome, you can stay, but you guys are welcome to leave since your petition is over. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Churchman.
It's in the report that Angie sent on September 2nd as well, guys. So if you have your phone up, you can check it there too.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep, yep. Question. Am I able to bring my iPad next time? That way I can have it.
Oh, yeah,
pulled up
I usually
somewhere.
bring my laptop, so.
Okay. It makes it easier to read.
Yeah, to see.
Yeah. Once you hit 30, your eye's not the same. I know you're at 21, so.
We got one more
Samantha
here.
wouldn't know anything about that.
Subject state fence area. Subject site prior to fence installation taken September 2011. Subject 3 site view from the northeast. Department. Department, Training Department Division.
So you're basically just asking to replace the chain link fence with the privacy fence?
Could I say that I personally approached every single neighbor on the block to let them know beforehand that we had a plan, and every single neighbor was supportive.
I'd love for you to say that again after the break.
Yeah,
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 save that thought.
That's a good fact.
yeah.
I drive by your house quite frequently, and it looks very nice from the street. You're also the one that has some pretty nice looking cars from time to time, aren't you, or not? Or is that your neighbor that has the hot rods?
Not me.
Okay, then that's on towards the park then.
Yeah. All right, board, are we ready to resume?
Yes,
All right, perfect. Okay.
and thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so you petitioners, you may continue.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I personally visited every single neighbor on our block to let them know of our intentions and that, you know, we just want to be good neighbors. We have 3 dogs. We realize they bark a lot. And, the neighbor to the, let's see, what's that one's dog? North of us has 2 pit bulls, and they're not very friendly. So the neighbor to the west of us put up a privacy fence, because he was fearful for his 2 daughters and his own self, with the pit bulls. And so we want to do the same, because we're good neighbors and we don't want our dogs barking all the time. We don't want anybody to have to complain that their dogs bark all the time, because we're very, very mindful of other people's rights.
Thank you. Board, do you have any questions for the petitioners?
I just think if, want to repeat the question we had off.
Oh, yes,
On
yeah,
the
the question you
breakdown.
just asked.
You want to replace the chain link fence with a 6-foot privacy fence?
Yeah.
Have you-
Along that same line, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you considered going with a 4-foot privacy fence?
We thought about it, but I have a very tall golden doodle that could just go over that. We're fearful of that, and that's why we wanted to put up the privacy fence as well, because he's a jumper.
It would look funny too, since we have an existing 6-foot fence back.
Well, the problem is you have 2 front yards.
Yeah.
Right,
Might be in a corner lot.
right. Yeah, we understand that.
We're not really going in front of the house per se, though. I understand what the intent of the rule, they don't want, I believe the intent of the rule is they don't want a privacy fence in front of the house. We're starting at the corner of the house and going back, basically enclosing our backyard. It just happens to be on 12th Street
12th
side.
Street side. And a neighbor across the street at 11, I think it's 1196 12th Street. Or no, Church.
Church. She
Has
has-
the exact same thing, it was around her pool. And then at the end of the street on Alton and 12th, they have the very same thing. Because they also have 3 dogs. And our neighbors have all told us that since they put up their privacy fence, the barking has been minimized. And we're still at the same time. Plus, we'd like to have some privacy.
Just to remind the board, as Madam Clerk read out earlier, you can put conditions or commitments to any sort of approval, so keep that in mind as you think about it.
Are there any other questions for the petitioner?
I don't have
at
any,
this
no.
time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any remonstrators? None seen, thank you. And at this point, we will call up staff.
Okay, good afternoon once again to everyone. Thank you to the petitioner for their comments. Does everyone have a copy of the staff report and need an extra? I do have one additional, I think we, yeah.
No, I'm
yeah,
all, I'm
okay.
all.
Oh, you're
So
good?
I was
We're
on the
good,
phone.
yep.
Perfect. Sure. Okay, yep, thanks once again to the board for their time as well. Staff is unfortunately not in a position where we're able to recommend approval of this variance either to allow for additional height on the fence within the property's front yard. So a bit of history for the site. It's at the northwest corner of Churchman and 12th. Prior to 1977, it was joined as one larger lot with a parcel to the west, which is the 1206 address, and there was just one house. At that time, the lots were split and new residence was built. There were narrow setbacks at the time, and over time, some improvements were added to the site. There was a deck and a canopy, a small fence on the south side of the property, as well as a basketball court area in 1999. In 2014, a variance was approved by this body, by your previous people in the Beachbrook BZA to legally establish those narrow setbacks between the properties, as well as a small 6-foot area along the Churchman frontage to the south, and for a basketball court that encroached 5 feet into the front yard of 12th Avenue. If rules were the same back then as they were now, which I believe they were similar, that court wouldn't have been legal at the time prior to that variance in 2014. Yeah, so to say, an unusual situation at the Caden Court for accessory facility building like that in the front yard. It's not typically something that's allowed. Between 2019 and 2024, per Google Street View photography, there was a chain link ornamental fence added along that eastern front yard, and then a wooden privacy fence along the north side of the yard there, intersecting with it. That chain link fence is 4 feet in height, which meets geopacity requirements to be 4.5. Typically, front yard requirements are 3.5, but if it's see-through for more than 30%, then it can be bumped up to 4 feet, which would be the consider. A lot of fence cases come before this board or similar ones with fences having already been put up illegally. Marion County doesn't require permits for fences, so a lot of people don't realize, or their fence contractor doesn't communicate clearly to them, and then they end up with a violation on the site. To the applicant's credit, that's not the case here. They're asking permission beforehand instead of forgiveness afterwards to install a 6-foot wooden privacy fence within the front yard in the same approximate location as where the chain link fence is now. It would jump out about 16, I think it was 16 feet was marked on the site plan provided from the front of the house, and then run parallel with the property line. Now we can toward the basketball court. My understanding is that we made out of similar materials to the fence that currently exists running along the north side of the property there. In many residential contexts, corner lots have 2 front yards, and we just heard a corner lot case. This one is actually kind of unique. since it's within the compact context area instead of the metro context area, the site actually technically has one front yard and one corner side yard. The way that our ordinance determines that is by the larger number of lots that front along the street. So since there are so many of their neighbors to the north that front along 12th, 12th would be considered their one front yard, and then Churchman to the south would be considered the corner side, which is a little counterintuitive because it feels like, no, the entrance comes off Churchman, but that's how it's classified through the ordinance, just to have that be totally clear. There are also some rules in the ordinance about standards for game court fencing being exempt from fence height standards. These wouldn't be applicable for this particular scenario because, well, for two reasons. For those use-specific standards, they specify there can be taller fences around regulation courts, which isn't the case here. It looks like it's just sort of the one hoop and then a concrete area nearby. And then also it would need to be a perimeter one around that specific court. Think like a fence for a tennis court, for example. This would be a perimeter fence around the full yard that just happens to be close to the basketball court. It's property zone D5. It's one of the walkable neighborhoods within the city's ordinance. The city's infill housing guidelines, which are a adopted part of our broader comprehensive plan. Those indicate that in residential contexts, front yard fences should be ornamental in nature, and that privacy fences within front yards are discouraged. So the applicant is correct that that's sort of why that rule exists. The findings from the applicant indicate that the need for this variance arises since the only way to place a 6-foot fence in this particular location along the eastern front yard would be to keep it, and if it was kept behind the front building line of the house, it would slice through the basketball court. That is true for a 6-foot fence. It wouldn't necessarily preclude placement of any fence jutting out into the front yard, though. The current fence that's installed is allowed by right and found intersecting through that basketball court, and it's part of what appears to be an attractive and well-maintained front yard. As mentioned during the previous case, the burden of proof that we often look for is practical difficulty that's site-specific. Since this basketball court was placed by a previous variance, it would be an instance of a self-imposed difficulty, even though in this case it was a previous owner that placed the basketball court. Staff feels that either the existing fence or some form of buffer landscaping could be used to address concerns about privacy or any potential jumping dogs. The infill housing guidelines would encourage a 6-foot fence not meeting the opacity requirements in the front yard here, and we don't feel that a further increase of nonconformity could be justified solely from the previous permission to deviate from the standards. It's sort of a case where the second variance is needed because there was a first variance. Staff generally views that as poor planning precedent, like looking forward to future cases as well. So for those reasons, we recommend denial. Again, as you're aware, unanimous vote would be required to take any sort of action on the petition. If it was a 2-1 vote, it would be continued out to next month. So hopefully that's some helpful context. As mentioned, there is the ability to ask for commitments, sort of try and compromise, meet halfway points. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, though.
None at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Petitioners, if you would like to respond to anything staff said, you do have 5 minutes if you would choose to take it.
In a nutshell, we just, there's already 2 yards similar in the neighborhood. There doesn't seem to be a problem. We don't understand why this would be a problem with us either. We're just trying to be good neighbors. We want our dogs to be quiet, and they bark at everything that moves. And they're friendly, but everybody, there's a lot of dog walkers in the neighborhood. We just want them to be quiet. And if they can't see it, they're not gonna bark at it.
All right, thank you. Does the board have any other questions for the petitioner at this time?
Just to clarify, you're, again, just building the 6-foot fence, privacy fence at the back of your house, not in the front? That way, okay, just want to make sure. That's all.
All right.
Questions?
Any other questions before
Nope.
discussion? All right, thank you. All right, now, board, you can discuss, make a motion.
I drove by there today, and from the way it's designed and the way it looks, I don't see an issue with it. And I can understand the problem with the neighbor to the north if it is as he says, as they say with the 2 dogs that are not very friendly. I wouldn't want my dog being only on the side of a 4-foot fence. I've got a small Maltipoo I wouldn't even allow in the yard. And I wouldn't let my beagle out either for that reason. So I can understand their concerns. of not wanting, of not being able to live with a 4-foot fence in that location. And the fact that their dogs like to bark at every dog like mine does too. So that's why I have a 6-foot fence around my yard. So,
But there's already a 6-foot fence on the north end of their lot.
yes, but according to what they're wanting to go is on the west side, I believe, isn't it? West.
They want to connect to that fence, I
Yeah.
believe, don't you?
Well, they're gonna tie on to the wooden one that's already there, I'm assuming.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. I myself, I don't see a problem with it. Can we make a motion now, or do we have
Yeah,
to
you
wait?
can, yep.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this variance, that it's okay to build a fence.
Is there a second?
I approve.
All those in favor, we'll actually do voice vote. Start with you.
Aye.
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 Aye, okay. Thank you very much. Variance is approved, 3-0. Thank you all for coming in
We shall hear
today.
no more barking. Or minimal, anyway.
From the looks of your property, I think you'll do it right.
Oh, yeah, you look great anyway.
All right, Board, we have one more item of business before we adjourn. In front of you are the meeting minutes from May 7th, 2025.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I approve.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. As of right now, actually, I think we're past the deadline for October. So right now, there's no October petitions, but I will keep you posted for November. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
All right, meeting is adjourned at 1:42. Thank you, everybody.
I remember that much.
I love it.